It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again. Because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. And may I add to the visionaries and first responders in my blog here and that have been supporting me and making great comments and adding to the dialogue and learning as we're growing and learning about all this. Thank you. You're not alone. You may be out there by yourself talking, trying to awaken people and being excused from the dinner table at Thanksgiving like I've had done to me. But try again, try again, try again, as my father would say. And he'd also say, love one another. All right, let's get into it. And I want to give a shout out to these first responders like Aether Realm, who was indicating in the comment section that there was some Zika viruses being sprayed and the Red Cross was staying at the St. Regis 5-star hotels. And I asked her for proof, and here she sends me articles. This is how we grow, folks. Zika viruses being spread over Houston as if these people haven't suffered enough. Also, Cape Canaveral wasn't hit by the Harvey at all. But look at the devastation Harvey caused on everyone, folks. Look at how much it took out. And look at these Red Cross. I mean, you guys responded a lot to the article yesterday about the Red Cross. Hopefully you heard the message about Jose, and we'll get into that in a minute. But they have no shame. Red Cross doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about any of us, folks. You're on your own. Here they are, trucks, documentation being proven, staying in front of the St. Regis Hotel, 5-star hotel, and denying people shelters, denying them blankets, denying children food. Breaks our hearts. That's why it's yo-yo, help your neighbor, love one another. All right, and the other part I want to get into this is people are asking why. Why would they do this to us? Why do they want to treat humanity this way? One is the Georgia Guidestones, which please look up the Georgia Guidestones and outside Atlanta, Georgia, to reduce the population. But this is a much more spiritual battle going on, the war in heavens and the fall down into the earthly realm. But look at number 1, stupidity. Stupidity. And 5 is herd conformity, folks. And I would add ignorance along with stupidity. I mean, we have so much information. This is a model of geoengineering from the Royal Institute. All right? And the IPCC, the grand poobahs of weather. And here they are showing you all the different systems they're using: land, sea, and air. We're going to get into the air, a new documentation that another reader sent to me from the Truth Channel about lasers. Lasers being used to modify weather from above that none of the geoengineering sites or anyone is talking about. And I want to take you just for a second and just understand the technology is so advanced. If they can get Wi-Fi traveling at 30,000 feet going 500 miles an hour and find your computer, what have all these guys been able to do with technology, folks? They got weather derivative markets. Wall Street's hitting new highs today. They knew it was going to happen in Florida. They knew it was a big fake out before possibly the Jose breakout, as we used to say on Wall Street, when the stocks would go down and people would be shaken out and then they would go up to new highs. It's just what it's doing now. Shake out before the breakout. And here are the big farce of the big Florida storms. And I don't apologize for the warnings to get out of there, because you never know if they're going to turn on the machine or not. They can do it at will. But they're saying this was caused by a storm that was very lucky, according to Jeff Masters of Weather Underground. The credit goes, here a new term, folks, Bermuda High, which acts like a sort of traffic cop in the tropical North Atlantic. The circular system hovering over Bermuda jostled Irma into northern Cuba Saturday, where being over land sapped some of the power. The Bermuda High is finite and has an edge, which was right over the Key West. Did you hear about any of this before? No. None of this goes on. That's the way they roll, folks. That's the way they roll. Now, I want you to take a look at this. This is from Weather War 101 showing Hurricane Erin coming in right before 9/11, and they steered it back out of the ocean using heterodyne waves. This is from 2001, 9/11, 2001. Look at it. Here's the wave. Boom! And they just pushed it offshore, okay? And I know I've said this several times, but this is an individual that made weather in 1915 and caused 30 inches of rain in San Diego. An individual. One person. All right? So I want to give you a heads up again, because I didn't make it at the front in the last message, but there's a lot of predictions that they're going to hit New York City and they're going to hit Washington, D.C., as I documented in the previous. So this is from a website that I was just turned on to, earth.nullschool.net. I believe this is a Google Earth type map, and a friend brought up the comment, well, if everything's CGI, how can you trust it? Answer is, you can't. But that's all we got to go on, folks. So we're trying to make the best of it as we are told and shown the movie as they are playing it to us in real time. So apparently this is a real-time map. I haven't been able to verify if it's the veracity of it, but maybe you sleuths out there can help me. But look at this off the west coast over here. Look at the front being pushed up and directed up and out that way, and then coming back into Alaska and then circulating. But just more on the Jose front here. This is East Coast time, and look at the circular patterns. You see down here, there is Mr. Jose parked off the East Coast. Whammo bammo, it can come right in. Look at the front being blocked right here, and then look at this massive continuation of Irma moving up and north and then looping back around above Lake Erie, and it could come back to help block for Jose. You never know.
In an interview aired by CBS, Dr. Kaku admitted that recent homemade hurricanes have been the result of government weather modification programs in which the skies were sprayed with nanoparticles and storms then activated through the use of lasers. It says in an interview below, Michio discusses the history of weather modifications before CBS crew stop him in his tracks. The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, HAARP, was created in the early 1990s as part of the Ionospheric Research Program jointly funded by the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Navy, the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA. According to government officials, HAARP allows the military to modify and weaponize the weather by triggering earthquakes, floods, and hurricanes.
They were talking about climate change yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning.
So I want to thank the Truth Zone for this patent that he just posted, or she posted on the comment section from my article yesterday, or video doc from on Hurricane Harvey. Very important document here. September 9th, 2010, weather management using space-based power systems. Space-based power systems, a method of altering weather using space-borne energy, okay? Now, it says down here, free-floating power system elements are maintained in proper relative alignment, position, orientation, and shape using a control system. Energy from the space-based power system is applied to a weather element, such as a hurricane, and alters the weather element to weaken or dissipate the weather element. They can also make it more intense, folks. Okay.
CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Lasers, really, to change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it.
All right, so let's get into the hurricanes, how they're using it to affect hurricanes and steer the hurricanes and intensify it. All right, so here in Figure 18, we start to see the hurricanes and how this is applied and how it applies to Hurricane Harvey as we speak today. And this is a chart here, which I want to... There we go. All right, so here's the space-based power system. That's Solarin. Here's the radio frequency RF energies. And here they're concentrating it off the coast of Florida. Isn't that interesting? Remember, this is a patent from 2010, folks. Okay, now here's how the mirrors come into play. Sunlight comes in, reflects, power module, output mirror, weather element, RF frequency. Remember how they bring the weather up from the Gulf of Mexico way down south? It started 7 days ago, August 16th, I believe, and then they use the radio frequency energy off the coast. And you see the radio frequency tracking beam. You see, it's not, it comes on shore in the storm's path. This is the exact path that they came on. I guess that's Florida, but the same path that came into the Gulf of Mexico that Weather War 101 was showing, using RF tracking beams, okay, to steer the weather intensely. And as you go down, you see the groups of thunderstorms. And folks, it's showing you exactly how they do it. This is how they take the weather, create the hurricanes, amplify the hurricanes, hurricane airflows. This will be in the show notes. So this is in the summary, and what is claimed here is a space-based power system for altering the weather, okay? And you can get into it, and it lists all the different types of ways they are altering the weather with these systems. They have it figured out, folks. The technology has been readily available for a very, very, very long time. Again, thank you for putting this very important document to my alert. I really appreciate it. Truth Channel. And here's the documentation at the very end of this summation of the 45-page document on water vapor machines, space-based and otherwise. What is claimed is a space-based power system for altering weather. Generate electrical energy from the collected sunlight and convert the electric energy into radio frequency energy that is applied to a weather element and to alter and weaken the weather element. They can also increase it, folks. Number 5, radio frequency energy generated by the space-based power system and converts absorbed energy to thermal energy that is transferred to the weather element to alter and weaken the weather element. 6, the system of claim wherein the energy absorbing element is aluminum oxide. What do they spray in the skies with barium? Aluminum oxide, folks. Here it is. Number 7, the claims wherein the energy absorbing element is plastic. Is this why we have the Texas plastic patches and plastics being allowed to be permeated throughout all our oceans? So to get this, look at the size that they're energy absorbing. The element has the length of 0.6 of an inch and a width of about 0.01 inch and a thickness of 0.001 inch. We're talking tiny, tiny material here, folks. We're using energy absorption. Energy absorbing element is sufficiently low so that the energy absorbing element is substantially buoyant with the water element, so it stays up on the surface.
Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far, it works.
They have the science down on this, folks. Here's the hurricane. Here's all the RF heating zones that alter the storm's paths. See how they're next to shore or onshore, but also they're in the oceans and they're seaborne as well. Okay, so here's the radio frequency being 1.5 gigawatts, I guess that is, as the airflow goes up in the beam, superheating, and RF heating zone alters the path. It's showing you how they do it, folks. It's right here for anyone to see. And they use surface air temperatures, radio frequency beams, cold air, inversion layers create the easterly atmospheric pressure. Where's the Harvey on? It's in the east, coming up from the Gulf. Now, this is what I want to bring your attention to just for a quick sec. James Rogers, Hermosa Beach, Gary T. Spernak. They're with the Solarin Corporation. Let's take a quick look because it's going to apply a little later here when we get into this.
When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War.
Work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to,
right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now.
Laser at a power of 1 watt. And if you don't want to use your energy to strike your match, you can just hold it in the beam of light.
A 1 watt laser can light a match. Imagine then the power of a 500 trillion watt laser. That's exactly what they've built here at the National Ignition Facility in California, where engineers have just finished constructing the laser to end all lasers. In fact, 192 of the world's most powerful lasers, all focused on a tiny hydrogen target. If they can be made to strike at the same time, and when I say the same time, I mean within 1/billionth of a second, then the energy inside the atoms will be released, creating in one moment 500 times more energy than the entire American national grid. This incredible energy release is from nuclear fusion.
What is fusion power?
Well, fusion power is what's going on inside the sun, right? You know, and that is when we crush hydrogen together, we get this fusion to happen, we turn mass into energy, and that energy comes out, and if we can collect it and turn it into electricity, that's what we want to power our civilization. We get this fusion to happen, we turn mass into energy, and that energy comes out, and if we can collect it and turn it into electricity, that's what we want to power our civilization.
And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what is
electricity down the beam?
So what is
electricity down the beam?
So what is
So here's a press release from 2016 from Solarin Corporation, next phase of their Space Solar Development Program, or SSP, Space Solar Development Program. And what you'll see is engineered zero-emission electricity from space that's cost competitive with any terrestrial source of baseload electricity. Design, develop, integrate, test, and certify space solar power. Coming decade, it will perform unprecedented components, subsystems, and testing to validate all aspects, and the multi-billion-dollar development program culminates with the launch of Solarin solar power satellites, operational certification, and the start of commercial operations and sales of electricity from their 250 megawatt SSP plant in the air, folks. So if we look at the team, which I always try and do, Dr. Rogers, co-founder, distinguished career at Hughes Aircraft, held key technical positions, developing the state-of-the-art systems for NASA, Department of Defense, field components for advanced space-based systems, spacecraft power generation, thermal and optical sensors. All right, so let's look at the other co-founder, Gary T. Spernak. Mr. Spernak has 33 years of experience in the industry. He's founder and the CEO of Solarin, first commercially viable space solar company. Held a number of key positions at Boeing Satellite Systems, has an extensive experience in space system development at Hughes, managed a major national security program to include successful multi-million-dollar R&D, that had to be for DARPA, and also he has a distinguished military career with the Air Force and other spacecraft project engineer at Cape Canaveral. All military guys, folks, running this program. All right, so let's get back to the patent here. But before we do, real quick, I forgot about this. I wanted to show you. Russia announces issuance of Space Solar Power System patent. This is just right at the same time of the previous announcement. The issuance of the key solar patent to Solarin. Now, Solarin now has key enabling SSP system patents in all of the world's major spacefaring countries. Solarin now has key enabling SSP system patents in all of the world's major spacefaring countries. All of the world, all right? And one of the projects they've floated is used to space mirrors to reflect sunlight back, but that's not what they're doing the space mirrors for. This shows it right here, folks. Let me get up the highlight. But the basic gist goes something: launch and robotically assemble several hundred or thousand identically sized modules in geosynchronous orbit. One part compromises mirrors to reflect and concentrate sunlight into solar panels that convert the energy into electricity. Converters turn that electricity into low-intensity microwaves and are beamed to large circular receivers on the ground. All right, so they're in the business of making mirrors, which is going to play into what I'm going to show you here in this patent again, okay? And here you can see the mirrors being used here to amplify and then send down to the ground-based stations, whether it be a radio beacon or the solar panels here. And here you see the mirror image again in this next figure. All right, so let's get into the hurricanes, how they're using it to affect hurricanes and steer the hurricanes and intensify it. And here's just one more to show you how they're using amplification, mirrors, radio frequencies, and sunlight to direct and amplify weather and amplify the sun's radio frequencies as well, the cosmic ray. So stepping it way down to the other end, there's a common laser you can probably get at 7-Eleven that's effectively able to shine light up to 10, 11,000 feet and disturb pilots landing and taking off an aircraft, which many documentations around the world. Common off-the-shelf item. But I wanted to get into how they get above the clouds and they can easily steer the weather, they can warm, they can pulse it, all those things that we're documenting from below. And all the other geoengineering sites and chemtrail sites only document the chemtrail spraying from above, but I haven't heard anybody talk about the manipulation by laser-guided systems. But it's clearly known. If you look at the U.S. Air Force, they clearly have laser-guided weapons. Look at this machinery here. High-energy layer modules and whatnot right in the nose, and they can direct it right above the clouds. They can heat the clouds. They can steer the clouds. They just change the energy frequencies. They can also hold things aloft from below. And here's a video I want to show you about exactly how that's being done and kept stationary.
Demonstrations. The left bottom one was recorded in visible light, and the main one was recorded in infrared light. The photonic laser thruster is powered on, and the platform is gradually accelerated by photon thrust exerted on the glowing mirror. Photon thrust is amplified by recycling photons between two highly reflective mirrors. One is mounted on the mobile platform, and the other is on the laser head to the right. The recycling photon beam is visible as a glowing line reaching the mirror. The photon thruster is in the range of 0.5 to 1 millinewtons, and the recycling photons bounce back and forth about 400 times. Once the platform reaches the end of the track, the platform bounces back on a rubber band. The occasional sparks in the laser beam result from the exploding micrometer-sized particles in the cleanroom air and indicate the recycling laser power is extremely high. In fact, the power is in the range of 75 to 150 kilowatts. As the platform approaches the starting point, it is gradually slowed down by the photon thrust. Without the photon thrust, the platform would continue to move and eventually hit the structure on the right side at full speed. After stopping, the platform is propelled back again. Our successful demonstration proves the feasibility of precision propellant-free spacecraft maneuvering and the formation flying with the photonic laser thruster, and establishes the flight demonstration in space as our next milestone.
Doesn't mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops, and if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine.
Well, the bad news is if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
Incredibly interesting, Professor Michio Kaku. Thank you so much.
So in regards to weather modification snowmaking by the physicist from New York City College. This publication, October 19th, 1971. Happy birthday, me. Filing date, March 25th, 1966. Weather modification method. You're going to love this. All right, so here we get down first field experiment. Liquid water cloud was 5 grams per cubic meter. Temperature was found to be 16 degrees centigrade. Urea was introduced in this cloud at the seeding rate of 9.3 pounds. In a short period of time, appearance of sundogs, heavy snow showers was observed. Again, second experiment, very dense snow shower, broken hole cloud was observed after seeding. Base here produced a well-defined snow shower, and the third one that was strongly sheared by the wind below, and 10 particles were produced, pulverizer, and definite snow shower was observed to fall from the clouds using the urea, depending how you say it. But go back to find out what this element is here, folks. And let's hear how it sounds. Urea. Got it. Urea is a colorless crystalline compound that is the main nitrogenous breakdown product of a protein metabolism in mammals and is excreted in urine. You just can't make this shit up. They're spraying urine on us, folks. Isn't that lovely that the snow coming down, the ice nucleated snow that Geoengineering Watch talks about and has showed that at 50 degrees it snows in places. I documented in Kenya where they had snow in the summertime at the equator, which was ice nucleated snow more accurately, so we have new terms to use, but spraying urine on us. But look who's behind this. He's signed a National Science Foundation, all right? And just to really get understanding of how long they've been able to manipulate weather. I mean, I love Google Patents, man. These guys are awesome. Snow precipitators, method for making snow. You can go through ice nucleated snow. You can go through all this stuff. I mean, it's all manipulated.
Let's consider what we can see with our own eyes in the case of Hurricane Harvey. As Harvey was circulating across the superheated Gulf of Mexico, countless bursts of convective cloud formation and moisture can be seen rising into the atmosphere and collapsing from within Harvey's circulation. Again, are we to actually believe that some sort of water vapor machine is floating around in the middle of a hurricane, spraying water into the sky?
In there, that's the ocean-based NexRad systems, this SBX1 platforms that I'm going to show you here in a minute. That's what's controlling it from the other side of the circle. So they're controlling it from both sides, creating this circular mass. They brought it on shore, they parked it on Houston like they planned, and now they're just going to let the deluge continue. Look at these bursts. Look at those lines, folks. Those are all radio frequency lines. Those yellow, red lines you're seeing bursting, it's not just on land, it's on shore. And these things have like 750,000 watts of power for each station. They're massive. They can be on the ocean. They can be on land. Either way, they can steer the weather. And that's what nobody's talking about is these ocean-based radio frequency, NexRad generation radio frequency devices that are helping steer the weather as well. And I'm sure they're pouring tons and tons of aluminum and barium on top of it, spraying above this system as well. It's design chaos. It's planned climate chaos out of their lives. So here's the sea-based SBX1 Doppler. It's being said they're HARP. This isn't HARP technology. This is Doppler NexRad radar system. Look at these massive things. They tow them, they park them anywhere they want around the world, and it helps to steer the weather. This is what they're doing in the Gulf of Mexico too, as I showed you in the video, and you can look again to see how they're steering it. So this is something that Weather War 101 is not covering, One Pacific Redwood's not covering, and of course, AWOL Geoengineering Watch, who's not covering any of Harvey or any of New Orleans. I don't know where this guy's gone, but he's gone underground, and he's not even covering the greatest weather event being geoengineered. And I don't understand it, but here you look at these massive things, folks. Why would they spend all this money? What is this all about? Well, this is about weather weaponization, weather terrorism, weather collapse. These are the massive, massive machines they have to use in order to facilitate weather manipulation around the world. And they can tow these anywhere they want, folks, anywhere they want. This is what they look like. It is not HAARP. So don't harp on it anymore, okay? So I think it's awesome that Geoengineering Watch is coming on board now with the NEXRAD, Next Generation Radar, Doppler radio frequencies, and talking a lot about it yesterday. It's pretty interesting to see. So let's go to his site and look at all the information. I want to learn more about this. So let's go into the search site here. Let me put down the mic, and I got NEXRAD and find out what's going on in NEXRAD. And here we go to the site. This is May 9th. Good. Current article in NEXRAD. Frequency transmissions in weather warfare. Okay, let's see the NEXRADs. What do they look like? How do they work? Where are they? Oh, yeah, there's chemtrails. There's the scalar waves. Yeah, we know about those all. Yeah. Where's the NEXRAD? Wait, this is about NEXRAD. Oh, there we go. Off the court of Eureka up there. There's a generator must be there, but it's unidentified. It just says a microwave transmitter confirms profound transmissions have precipitation. So back in May, Mr. Wigginton was talking about it. And here, look at these are, what are these? Oh, here's the NEXRAD map. Here it is right here, folks. This was back in May he was showing us. And there's that famous right angle. And what any other articles we got here, NEXRAD? Let's find them. All right, so let's do a search and get all these NEXRADs. So this was in the same article here. And this was back in 4/26/11. Where's the NEXRAD articles? Wait, May 9th. NEXRAD. She just talked all about NEXRAD. Here's the chart. Got it? There's the word NEXRAD. HAARP, SPX. We all know about HAARP. Everybody knows about HAARP. Show me some HAARP systems, folks. You're going to see Alaska, little else. Maybe some woodpecker ones from Russia. Show me the HAARP towers, folks. Show them to me. Last transmission, 4/26/11, NEXRAD. Sorry, Dane. Doesn't work like this.
Radio frequency microwave transmission facilities are ramping up their power and output in order to scatter and disperse Irma's moisture over the widest possible region. Many question how climate engineers could possibly steer massively powerful cyclones with the use of jet-sprayed atmospheric aerosols and very powerful radio frequency microwave transmissions. It can and is being done. Though this diagram illustrates the basics, it doesn't even begin to come close to the true power and resource behind the climate engineering insanity. How much power are weather modification microwave towers actually able to put out? The publicized figure is 700,000 watts. These are for the towers that are scattered all over the country and all over the world. That's 1,400 times more than was disclosed by the live science diagram just shown. How much air power does the U.S. military have to fill the skies with sprayed aerosol particulates for climate modification? More than can be truly imagined. When all types of military tankers are included, the fleet numbers are in the thousands. A careful examination of this animation reveals extreme levels of radio frequency microwave transmissions being blasted out from a Key West, Florida transmission facility, even as the eye of Irma passes over. The Key West transmissions are clearly impacting the southern end of Irma's circulation in this animation capture, and the full power transmissions of at least 700,000 watts somehow continued on Key West, even though there was extensive power outages in the region. It's almost exactly what the weather forecasters said it would be. Again, almost a week in advance. Where are these hurricane forecasts being issued from? The same private defense industry contractors that are neck deep in orchestrating the ongoing climate engineering operations. Companies like Raytheon and Lockheed Martin. Hurricane Harvey's track was also forecasted with perplexing accuracy nearly a week in advance. They somehow knew where Harvey would go and how long it would stay. The case was the same with Hurricane Sandy in 2012. Even the unprecedented 90-degree turn Sandy made heading straight west was foreseen again nearly a week before it happened. As Irma approached, the Key West transmissions were fully powered up and used to slow the forward progress of the cyclone. The transmissions also scattered much of Irma's moisture.
All right, and so let's see if we can help Mr. Wigginton Geoengineering locate these NEXRAD stations he's talking about. So NEXRAD stations locations, we're going to click here, and then we're going to the SWSR 88D RAD locations, and I put highlight all Florida, and let's see what we find. Oh, there's one in Melbourne, Florida. Looks like Tallahassee, Florida, Tampa, Florida, Flagstaff, Arizona, Elgin Base Air Force Base. That's where I'd look in Florida. I'll leave the rest to you, Mr. Wigginton. Okay, you're welcome.
From progressing further into the Gulf of Mexico. By Sunday, September 10th, this transmission facility near Charleston, South Carolina, helped to funnel Irma's waves of precipitation in the desired direction of the geoengineers. Irma's northward progression up the eastern coast of Florida was further hampered by this microwave frequency transmission facility near Tampa Bay, Florida. Why are Earth's climate systems being completely manipulated? Hurricane Katia was used as an atmospheric moisture pump. The massive stream of Gulf moisture from Katia, shown in this animation, was pushed north before it was rotated around a low-pressure zone back down into the eastern U.S. What are the scheduled temperatures for the U.S. once the current atmospheric moisture supply runs its course? Weather whiplash will set in as the eastern U.S. again heats up, and the western U.S. is temporarily and toxically cooled off with incoming Pacific moisture and patented chemical ice nucleation for weather modification processes. Welcome to geoengineered weather whiplash.
We are on cloud 12 because that's how many new types of clouds have been added to this historic update coming from meteorologists. I'm a little biased, right? Exciting stuff, guys. All right. So the new types include the Volatus Aurole cloud, which has been designated as a whole new species. You can see it gets its name from this long horizontal tube-like shape. Next one up, we have the Cavum. The hole punch cloud, this big circular gap, is sometimes caused by aircraft taking off and landing. Very easy to see, right? Makes sense there. And the hole punch cloud, this big circular gap, is sometimes caused by aircraft taking off.
And here we can see what Ms. Cutie Pie Meteorologist is so perky and referring to is these holes in the clouds here, folks. Just type in hole in the clouds and you'll see all the artificial weather. This is going on everywhere around the world. There's different applications, but you can see all the artificial weather being created by these ground-based and aerosol spraying devices to create artificial weather for many different applications.
Asparagus, these are gorgeous. It's actually my favorite. It's kind of looking like it waves while you're underwater. I mean, these are actually beautiful. I mean, check these out. And then finally, we also have the big surfer waves of the Fluctus clouds. These are actually caused by winds above flowing faster than the winds within the cloud itself. So you kind of get that shape. So beautiful, right? There's just a sample of the new additions that we have. Meteorologists, sky watchers, daydreamers, we're all geeking out, guys. What do you guys think?
I love that.
Favorite.
Who gets to name those things?
That's a great question. Wish it was me.
It's like, let me look that up for you.
we noticed that this vapor-like funnel had begun to come down from the center, and at the bottom appeared an oval-shaped, translucent object with lights around its circumference. It hovered there in the sky long enough for me to take several photographs before the object was gone. And so it seems that they got these photographs developed, because if you go to MUFON and you search the case to this, you'll get photographs of photographs, basically, where it looks like they printed these to get a better look at them, and they've laid them side by side, and you're seeing this full collage here. But so this couple was driving and they noticed this ring-shaped cloud. Now, if you remember, we've done countless videos over the past year where viewers have sent us in similar photographs and pieces of video footage of these strange circular clouds that seem to just appear out of nowhere. We've seen them happening over Australia. We've actually seen them happening over CERN, which is the Large Hadron Collider, where they're smashing particles together over in Sweden. So these clouds that we've seen around the world, identical to what we're seeing over at Louisiana here. But what's so amazing about this is that this is the first time that we've had a submission where the viewer has actually followed this cloud and firsthand witnessed its transition into what later on looks like some sort of portal, with an object coming down, again described it as what looked like a funnel.
Looking at mostly cloudy skies, so we have the clouds out there, but not the rain. Well, if you're looking at the radar picture, you're probably saying, well, we have some blue on the radar here. What's that all about if it's not raining out there? Well, believe it or not, this is actually not rain. This is called chaff. This is something that the military actually let out of their aircraft a couple of hours ago. It can be plastic, it can be aluminum, and basically it's something that they emit from the aircraft in order to confuse radar, and it's used in times of war, obviously, but obviously just an experiment here over the Fort Myers area. This is rain. This is all man-made material. No known harm to any humans, but nonetheless, just wanted to show you that on the radar picture. And if nothing else, it's actually a great thing that the military has that as an option. Now, looking at the radar picture, we have technology that can erase all of that man-made material and show you only the rain.
On this Thursday, we had a little cloud cover in the morning hours, a couple of showers as well. A bit of an unusual situation. Now, this first portion of the radar cycle, fairly bland and typical, but then you see these bands of very distinct cloud cover moving into the region. That is not rain, that is not snow, believe it or not. Military aircraft flying through the region is dropping chaff. Small bits of aluminum, sometimes it's made of plastic, or even metallicized paper products. Obviously, they're up there practicing. Now, they won't confirm that, but I was in the Marine Corps for many years, and I'll tell you right now, that's what it is.
This up-close look at the microwave frequency transmissions from a NexRad site near Knoxville, Tennessee, reveals just how profoundly these transmissions affect migrating precipitation. This image was recorded on the morning of September 11, 2017, as Irma and her abundant moisture tried to migrate inland. The highly toxic jet-sprayed climate engineering aerosols are not the only grave danger posed by the ongoing climate engineering insanity. The extremely powerful climate intervention microwave transmissions are also unquantifiably destructive to the biosphere and the entire web of life.
So to be clear and for the record here, I've known Dane since 2005 when he first introduced me to chemtrails and had trusted him. He is saying now that he's a proponent of radio frequency and NexRad when he only has 2, maybe 3 posts in his entire blog. The entire blog, okay? And Weather War 101 has been talking about it since 2014 and before, and it's been there. So why hasn't Mr. Wigington been posting it when he's on duty being the #1 website for geoengineering? And now he's following the tail wagging the dog. So anytime he wants to give me a call and I can educate him about what's really going on, you got my number, Dane. Give me a call. Thanks. This is Plain Truth Out. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.